And South Africa's President Jacob Zuma is sending an envoy to Zimbabwe after the army placed President Robert Mugabe and his wife under house arrest. The army denies staging a coup, but it has taken control of government buildings in the capital Harare and seized control of the state broadcaster. Well, let's cross now to Hazel Cameron. She's a lecturer in the School of International Relations at the University of St Andrews in Scotland. This looks increasingly, Hazel, like Robert Mugabe's time as Zimbabwe's leader will be over. What will Zimbabwe look like under a new leader?
Yeah, so only time will tell how the current situation that we're seeing in Zimbabwe, how it's going to unfold. As far as who will succeed Robert Mugabe, the former Vice President who was sacked last Monday on the 8th of November, and it's a result of that sacking that we've seen this crisis coming to a head. He has been vying to take control of the country to succeed Robert Mugabe for quite some time. And it's as a result of this vying for succession that we've seen a fracturing within ZANU-PF, and we've seen two separate factions come to the fore. One faction who are loyal to Robert Mugabe's wife, known as the G40 faction. They're like the younger generation who don't have the liberation credentials from the Bush War pre-independence. And then we have the second faction, which is led by Emmerson Mnangagwa, and that's the Lacoste faction, and it's supported by the veterans of the liberation movement. Emerson Mnangagwa had to flee to South Africa when he was sacked last week. But what we've seen today is that Mnangagwa has made his way back into Zimbabwe from Pretoria, which would suggest that he's actually got the support of the South African government. And of course South Africa is the largest, both politically and militarily, the most powerful nation in the region. So that's an important point to take into consideration. What we also see is the British government saying today that we don't want to see Mugabe being replaced by another tyrant. So that's something else that has to be taken into consideration in the succession battle.
And on that point, what do we know about the former vice president? Because his nickname is the Crocodile.
That's correct. So during the Liberation War, the nom de guerre that was given to Emmerson Mnangagwa was the Crocodile. And what we've seen is that actually, from our own research, that he is as cruel and as much a dictator in his style as that of Emerson, as of Mugabe. So this is, for me, deeply concerning and hugely problematic. He's the person that when the British government decided to re-engage with Zimbabwe, when they introduced this policy of re-engagement, they have put their full support behind Mnangagwa to succeed Mugabe. This is despite the fact that back in the 1980s, Mnangagwa was the architect of what became known as Gukurahundi, so the Matabeleland massacres, when there was a state policy to literally wipe out the political opposition in Matabeleland in Zimbabwe that resulted in over 20,000 people being butchered and hundreds of thousands of people being tortured in the most dreadful manner. He's also been responsible for the looting of the diamonds at the Marangi mine. It's alleged that he's been responsible for the looting of over £15 million worth of diamonds. And he had the support of the current army and the current chief of the army who's leading this coup in Zimbabwe at the moment. So it's troubling to think what the consequences might be should Mnangagwa take over the role as president in Zimbabwe.
Okay, well, we'll be watching this closely over the next few days. But as you mentioned, there are two factions in Zimbabwe. The younger faction of the ZANU-PF party who support Grace Mugabe, and the other faction that supports the former vice president. Do you think that if the former vice president takes control, we can expect that process to be a peaceful one?
I think at the moment that would be very doubtful. I think with the rivalry, the intensity of the rivalry between these factions, but also taking into account the deepening economic crisis that we're seeing in the country, that there's much potential for there to be civil war and mass atrocities in the country in the coming months. Obviously, we would all hope that that's not the case, but the potential is there.
Hazel Cameron, From the University of St Andrews, thank you.